I need to take a deep breath. I'm going to invite all of us actually to just take a deep breath together. Because this was actually a really challenging sermon for me to write. And I know that the whole time I might just kind of feel on the edge of this like vulnerability, because I think that's what God was calling me to do. Because I had written many drafts of this sermon, and at the kind of last hour, it was like, it just wasn't sitting well. It was like, that's not it. Because I kept trying to talk about love and glory, and God was like, you have to talk from love. And when you talk from love, it brings you into why that is so hard to do. And so I wanted to start with a little story from seminary. So I was in my capstone class, and I spent literally 3 months writing this paper. It was like we had to write an argument, we had to identify a problem, we had to talk about why all the ministry work we were doing, like what was it for, who was it for, why were we doing it, what was the problem we're solving. I like agonized over this process. I mean, I was so dedicated to it. I wanted to understand what the problem was too. And I remember going into Luther Seminary basement room, because that was the only place I could find that had these like huge chalkboards that had the room for me to write out all my ideas and put them all together and make sense. I needed room, okay? And I was like, felt like in a movie, just like insane writing, you know? But and after literally a whole week, I had a week off from school. I went there every day for hours. I had nothing. By the end of that week, I had nothing. I had no paper. And I was like, dear God, like, okay, you know, then it's like surrender. Like, what is going on here? I'm a smart person. I can write a paper. So I went home and I prayed, and what came out was, it was like, go into your heart. Go into it. What is it saying to you about your work? What does your voice from your heart want to say? And what I discovered there was, it was like so tender. It was like the love I felt for the world. I was like, it's so beautiful. And so I started to just talk out loud in my bedroom. And I was like, kind of like, the grass is so beautiful, it's so green. You know, like this poetry just started like kind of coming out of me. And I just was bursting into tears. And I was so overcome by what was happening to me. And I was like, this is what needed to be said. This is what was trying to be written. And so I found this poetry. But it helped me to see that why this love was so hard for me to get at was because I had all this grief surrounding it. That this love for the world that I had was almost rejected. It wasn't welcomed. It wasn't normal for me to talk like that, for me to love the world so deeply. And I started to understand this companionship between love and grief, that they are friends. They come together. And so if we want to learn about glory, if we want to learn about loving each other, we're going to need to face that well of also the grief that surrounds us. And then that leads me to be like, well, why can't I do that more easily? Why is that so hard for me to do? And then I'm reminded of all the ways that my culture, the ways that I was raised, the way I grew up, didn't didn't make room for that. It didn't help me to feel all my feelings or like sit with my rage or my anger or my deepest, hardest emotions. At my commencement, at my graduation, the commencement speaker was talking about how we live in a post-truth society and that these arguments aren't gonna like cut through anymore to each other. Like we can't get to each other through these like very well-crafted, logical, reasonable arguments. Like they're beautiful. There's a spirituality about it, indeed. It's not to be thrown away, but it's just one half of what is going to work for us. The other half is going to be this heart stuff, the real deal, the really hard thing to do, to be honest, to sit with someone and just like rawly accept them for where they are and who they are. Just being able to look at somebody and just say, like, it just hurts that I can't get to you. It just really hurts me that I can't bring you in closer to me right now. Like, I love you. And so I think about who are these teachers that we need right now in this? Who knows how to do this? If we haven't been taught, if our world hasn't been there for us in this way, if it's so scary because there's not containers and lessons and models, then who is that for us? And I turned to this man named Francis Weller, who wrote a book called The Wild Edge of Sorrow. And he talks about the 5 gates of grief. So I want to read you those gates. Everything we love, we will lose. That's hard. Everything we love, we will lose. The places that haven't known love is another gate of grief. The places that haven't known love. The sorrows of the world. What we expected and didn't receive. Ancestral grief. I want to read an excerpt from my paper that I did write. The poetry that kind of came bursting out of me, and let me tell you, I didn't pass the class with this paper. But I needed to write it. I needed to let myself get to that place, and I think there was a message in that for me and my seminary and all of us, that we weren't even being asked. I wasn't even being asked to talk from my heart. It wasn't expected of me. It just feels so like, what a tragedy. So I want to share at least a little bit of that. And if you want to close your eyes or relax, it's kind of a reflection. It's kind of a going inside and imagining. So if you feel comfortable doing that, you're welcome. It's called Ecstatic Tomato. Imagine yourself as a gardener, out in the open air, kneeling in the soft green grass, your pants a little wet from the morning dew, your skin warmed by the summer heat, the air is thick and humid. Here is a tomato seed. Squished in the creases of your clenched hand, trying to avoid it blowing away before you reach the hole you poked in the dirt, its resting place, its place of growth. It is so teeny and light, it acts like a speck of tissue paper that is only staying put because of the oils on your hand that you forgot about until now. You squish its body into the soil with your pointed finger, not too much, but not too little, and you pray a rainstorm doesn't sweep it away before it has a chance to grow little white strings that grasp onto the pieces of dirt that surround it until it can take root. You cover the small hole and you go inside for the day. Each morning you wake up and you wonder, how is Tomato doing? Is Tomato thirsty? Did Tomato stay warm enough last night? Does the position I placed you in allow you to feel the warmth of your brother's sun? Maybe you were in such a state of bliss as you mother Tomato that you can't help but let the love song conjuring up from inside of you the spell of mutual admiration to be carried outside of your body into the open sky, allowing it to mix and blend with the song of the robin. You become one with the beauty of creation in that moment. Your body mixing with the ingredients of life, just as the edges of the horizon of your skin and the opening of your throat. Your maternal instincts, your whole body, your belly, your organs are attuned to the day when the harvest will come. You tug the right amount on the tomato to feel if she's ready to be released from the plant, and she says, "Yes, I'm ready." You bring her to the kitchen, and in the sunlight beaming through the window just beyond the counter, you hold her up and look through her like it's stained glass window. You admire her deep red tones and notice how attracted you are to this color that it's both bold and warm. You notice the way her skin is taut, no sign of decay, no wilting or withering, just the buoyancy of ripeness, the sturdiness and fullness of the water that she'll need and no more. You open your mouth and sink your teeth and tongue and senses into tomato. You are now one and the same. A burst of flavor, gratitude, and delight makes your whole mouth sing, Glory be to God. Thank you for trusting me enough to go through this experience. It's teaching me so much about love, to be able to really try to say these words and be vulnerable. And another teacher I want to mention, who is another person who can teach us about our grief and our love at the same time and the depths that those hold, is our Catholic mystic from the Middle Ages, Marjorie Kemp. If you don't know her, she's a gem. She cried constantly. She was kicked out of church because she cried at the Passion of Christ constantly. But she reminds us that tears are a free gift from God. Tears and compassion are the highest and surest gifts that I can give on earth. So with that, I just want to remind us that we can try and do this better together. And there are teachers out there from the past and the present that are going to be with us as we learn to hold our grief so that we can learn to find the depths of love. That's where it resides. And in those places, we will feel the glory of God more and more. Amen.